Hello, listeners, and welcome to this episode of The Wayward Dragons. And actually, interesting to see, or be interested to see how Kelsey labels this episode, given what we're going to be talking about. Kelsey is my co-host, of course. I am Johnny. For those of you who have been listening for a while,
Yep.
for those of you who are new here, welcome.
Yes. Yes, welcome.
So one thing that we all love are cute and furry animals. Well, most of us love them. Today, we're going to be talking about some things that may or may not be cute and may or may not be furry, depending on your definition of what cute is. Pop quiz, Kelsey.
Okay.
What do... And I looked up the pronunciation of this and I lost it. Gevaudan? I think it's Gevaudan. Gevaudan, France. Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Luton, England. And a number of other places around the world have in common.
River monster.
Other than the fact they have weird names. It is not river monsters. The answer to this is actually the appearance of some sort of quote-unquote demon dog, beast, or black dog. So we're going to talk about two of these today, specifically the one in France and the one in Wisconsin.
Okay. Solid.
There are other mentions in different parts of the world that all over the world about, strange dogs or dog-like creatures, things that seem like monstrous wolves. And they've been, mentioned in folklore and mythology all around the world.
Oh, yeah.
So some people call them Hell Hounds, Black Hounds, Devil Hounds. Some people just equate them to Grims, and I'll talk a little bit about what Grims are, which is a fun little folklore thing. But we are going to start in Elkhorn. So for those of you who have never heard of Elkhorn, it's not that surprising. Elkhorn is a small town in southern Wisconsin, about 10 miles north of Lake Geneva. Overall, it seems like an average small town. But while this seems to be the case, like many other small towns, this town had a lot of strange happenings going on. Thanks to modern day nerds and some of the events that happened, and thanks primarily to one reporter, we have some accounts of these strange happenings.
Okay.
So, do you have any idea what I am referring to here?
Hell Hound in general?
Well, have you figured out what the topic is? Kelsey went into this not knowing what the topic was.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Once I say a certain location, I think you're going to catch on, and I think our listeners who aren't sure are going to catch on. If you have any interest in cryptids or any knowledge of cryptids, if you have not caught on already, you will probably catch on here in a second. So during the late 80s and early 90s, locals driving at night on the secluded Bray Road, only about 2 miles out from town, would often witness a large dog-like beast lurking in the darkness. Have you ever heard of the Beast of Bray Road?
No.
Okay. This is a real fun one.
No.
So
I'm a Mothman girl. Like
this is, and I'm only going to be covering 2 of the different accounts. There were numerous accounts of this. It's not like,
Okay.
hey, this person saw it and this other person saw it too, and they basically verified the information. No, there were countless, but these 2 are kind of the most interesting stories and interactions with this creature. One of which is the first on Bray Road, and the other is probably the closest to coming into contact with this creature on Bray Road.
Solid.
So, like I said, they would see this creature lurking in the darkness and on the road itself and off to the side. This dog creature, or Beast of Bray Road as it's sometimes called, was seen walking on all fours, but sometimes just walking around on its back haunches. This beast has sparked debates and frightened those who have seen it. But is this a real being or a product of overactive imagination and exhaustion? Given that the the times this was seen was late at night. Is this something from the physical world or something from worlds and realms beyond our understanding? Let's go over some things that the eyewitnesses saw. So, stories and sightings really happened only for around, or sorry, the stories and sightings have been going on for years. The thing is, though, is that the stories really didn't break news until Linda Godfrey started interviewing eyewitnesses and writing down their experiences for an article for the Walworth County Week, which is the newspaper that she worked for. Walworth County is the county that Elkhorn is in. In addition to eyewitness reports, she contacted local sheriff's office and animal control to get additional feedback as to what this thing could be. She wanted to confirm the bizarre sightings along Bray Road and the areas around Walworth County.
Okay.
Most of what we know about the beast today comes from her investigations. So, thank you for your amazing investigatory work, Linda. One of the accounts / sightings occurred in 1989 by Lori Indrisi, a local bar manager who was going home after closing up. This sighting happened around 1:30 a.m. As she was rounding a corner on the road, she saw what she originally thought was a man kneeling off about 6 feet from the road. That weirded her out enough, but as she got closer, she soon realized that this being, was far from a man. When she passed the creature that was setting off, like I said, about 6 feet from the road, she noticed that it had lupine features, massive claws, and in the claws, it was holding what looked like roadkill that it seemed to be eating.
Ew.
When she drove past it, it did not follow her. Instead, it just waited, watching her.
That's creepy.
As the view of it kind of fell from her rear view, the last thing she could see was the reflection of its yellow eyes from her headlights or her taillights.
Okay.
In shock, she continued to drive home. She didn't mention this to anyone originally because she thought that, she cocked it all up to exhaustion and the fact that it was 1:30 in the morning. But she couldn't shake the vision of its eyes. So she mentioned it to one of her coworkers who suggested she file a report on it. So she did. Said many other sightings happened here and there. The next major sighting, though, and this is the other one we're going to talk about, was by Doris Gibson. Doris Gibson, in 1991, was a woman who was at home on Halloween night. She was left home to drive and pick up a friend from a party. So she wasn't like under the influence allegedly or anything like that. She was being responsible. She was going to pick up her friend, but it was late. As she was driving, she reached down to change the song on the radio, which, as we know, is always a bad thing to do, to take your eyes off the road, especially at night. Especially any of us who had grew up in a, rural area.
Yes.
So when she did this, and she was changing the station, she felt a thump under her car. This thump was bad enough that it actually lifted her tire fully off the ground.
What?
Thinking that she hit a large animal, she slowed down and looked behind her. But it was too dark for her to see anything. So what did she do, Kelsey?
Did she get out of her car?
She did the one fucking stupid thing that white people do in horror movies.
Oh, we get out of our vehicles.
She stopped in the middle of the road, got out of her car. But this is the dumb token white person move.
Yeah.
Out of the car, in the middle of the highway. Went to the back of her car and was looking around. She wanted to see if there was any damage to her car or anything like that. She didn't really see any damage. However, when she got around to the rear of the car, she started hearing rustling coming from the woods around where she thought she hit something. Dun dun dun.
Like, you don't get out of your car until you're in a well-lit area. That's like white girl 101.
When she was
That's
looking,
like girl 101.
when she was looking, she saw this large dog-like or wolf-like creature starting to come out of the bushes. It started chasing after her. Luckily, she was smart enough not to turn her car off and not to lock the door. She
Okay.
sprinted into the car, jumped in, and floored it. She said she didn't even close the door yet. She was, like, as soon as she saw this thing, she was hauling ass. As she was driving, and like I said, flooring it, the beast was catching up to her. She reported that it jumped onto her trunk. For some reason, most likely condensation, because it had been raining that night, or earlier in the evening, it lost its footing and slipped off the trunk of the car. She continued driving, went to pick up her friend, went a different way home.
I would have too.
When she went to look after daylight to get a better look at the car, there were large scratch marks and gouges in the trunk of her car.
Solid.
So everyone else that's seen it has seen it like on, like, just like in the distance or something crossing their path ahead of them. There are other sightings that go back further. The earliest sighting to anything close to this in the area was actually about 2 hours away in 1936. And this is from, like, recent memory. This isn't Uh, we don't know what natives in the area may or may not have saw. I don't think they went into any detail, and I didn't go into any myself, of what the indigenous people of the area may have believed as far as creatures. Uh, but the 1936 sighting was at a place called Saints Colitas, which was a facility of the mentally deranged. Um, you know, this being the 30s, they sent just whoever they could there that they didn't want to deal with, because that's how great our mental health program was at the time. It's not much better today,
Mm-mm.
but given the source of this one, if it were from a patient from there, I don't know if it would be as creditable. However, it was a tenured security guard that witnessed it. One night he was going on his rounds. He went to part of the property where there are many indigenous people's burial mounds. And as he was looking around, he saw this large wolf-like creature. That it began chasing him. He, of course, ran from it. He claims that the only salvation that he had from it was his belief in the Christian God, and that his faith protected him. Which kind of brings more attention to, was this a hellhound?
Yeah.
Most common belief by quote unquote reputable sources say that it's possibly an abnormally large gray wolf, gray coyote, or maybe even a black bear, because black bears have been seen in that area during daytimes. However, none of the eyewitnesses would say that that was even possible given what they had seen in any of the cases. It looked way, way too bizarre. It was about the size of a bear, but moved more like a wolf or something similar to a wolf. This, could have been something like that, and I'll get to why it possibly could have been a wolf in a bit. It could have been, the quote unquote dog man of Wisconsin, which is a state cryptid.
Every state does have a cryptid.
Most states have more than one, but the other is like the token cryptid for every state.
Yeah.
Some people believe that, it could have been Skinwalker. I've seen all sorts of interesting theories. Like I said, there's the theory that it's, a hellhound, something that's sent from hell itself, that the devil sent out to hunt someone down and drag their soul back to hell. You can learn all sorts about those from Supernatural.
Yes.
Because there's like a whole story arc that revolves around hellhounds.
Yep.
Also, Good Omens. There's a really fun hellhound in that.
Okay.
If you have not read the book or watched the show, book is highly recommended. Show is enjoyable, but they added so much stuff from notes, and it's enjoyable. It's not bad.
Okay.
But anyways, that's all we're gonna cover from the Beast of Bray Road.
Okay.
Now we're gonna take a step back in time to the summer of 1764 in a French village of Gevaudan, or however the fuck you pronounce it.
Some French say.
So this
French village.
This village fell victim to a series of bizarre and wild animal attacks. The attacks lasted approximately 2 years. The first sighting of this beast, also known as the Beast of Gevaudan, no, of the Beast of Gevaudan, and if you have any French listeners, I apologize for my horrible French pronunciation. I am really bad at foreign languages. I'm really bad at English as it is, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it does not work with me. My brain has issues comprehending. But if you want to send us pronunciation, a phonetic pronunciation, because my brain reads things phonetically, I would
It
so
does.
much appreciate that. If you're both an English and French speaker, and you could give me a good pronunciation. Uh, so the attacks lasted about 2 years. The first sighting of the beast came in, like I said, 1764 in the Mangua forest. I believe that's how it's pronounced. That's, I think, the pronunciation that I found most frequent. Where a young woman was tending to her cattle nearby. She claims to have seen something that was like a wolf, but not a wolf, is how she described it. The beast had charged towards her, and luckily, the cattle saw this beast charging up. They had their young calves. And if you know anything about a lot of wild animals, especially packed animals like cattle, they don't let
Mhm.
things get around their babies, even if it's not their
Oh, they
baby.
don't.
So they basically ran it off. It charged at her a second time, and after they stood up to it a second time, it said, "This is too much work," and left. The beast managed to get away before she could tell exactly what it was. The sightings continued and increased in the area as the beast ravaged anything and everything it could. The first death was of a 13-year-old girl who was out in the countryside, again with her cattle, because I guess they liked having young girls sit around with cows all day. Uh, but I don't know if that's technically not a milkmaid. I don't know what that would be considered. It's not like a shepherdess. It's like whatever you call a cow setter, a cow watcher. But anyways,
I mean,
she wasn't just killed, she was found completely mutilated. As the attacks became more and more common, women and children were told not to travel alone and to travel in large groups, especially when tending to the cattle in the field, because this is typically when the beast would attack. That being said, the beast would also attack lone men.
okay.
Uh, the beast would continue to attack and would typically only attack people who were alone, until one day it came across a group of young boys playing together, as young boys do, and they were playing army, quote unquote, or something to the equivalent. They all had sharpened sticks and managed to drive it off after it tried to attack them.
Solid.
Um, Up until this point, the royalty in France were just like, "Hey, it's your problem." After this, the king realized that, hey, this creature is attacking more and more people, so actually sent out some soldiers to try and deal with it. Yes.
I've heard this story.
um, the soldiers
Like,
could not
mainly-
deal with the wolf, so he hired two hunters that were rather well known for dealing with wolves and the like. So the weird thing is with some of these attacks is they would happen in different areas that were far apart at roughly the same time. This started leading people to believe that this beast was a dark spawn of evil, and that there were multiple animals doing these attacks. Some accounts even stated that there were two animals. When they would see the beast, it had a smaller version of a smaller beast with it, potentially its child. The weird part is that unlike regular animals, when they kill something to eat it, they eat it. These quote unquote beasts weren't doing that. They were seemingly following a certain pattern when they would kill people, as if they had some sort of motive. It would start with biting the throat and neck area, as if it was stopping them from calling out for help. And then it would rip the body apart into pieces. Little of the body was noted, from what they could tell, as actually being eaten. Most of the parts seemed to be there. The limbs were torn off and strewn around. Well, the two hunters had near successes multiple times. They ended up failing at the job and were replaced by two royal hunters who ended up finally killing the beast.
Mm-hmm.
By their accounts, it looked like a large gray wolf. Something has to them has never been seen before and has not been seen since in the area. They confirmed that it was the beast in question after comparing the scars on the beast to survivors and people who escaped, because it was where the people used whatever weapons they had on to kind of scare the beast off, or where the cattle had struck it. So there have been, and this is kind of what do you think this is, Kelsey? Before I get into some science here.
What do I think that these are?
Yeah,
I think there are a lot of creatures in this world that we will never know what they are. I honestly, I think that they just might be black dogs. They might just be evil spirits, evil entities. What they are specifically, I don't think we'll ever know. But I
I
thought that there are things that time travel and interdimensional travel and all that stuff.
I I
So
do
who
have similar sentiments. Um, However, I do want to add a scientific possibility
okay.
along with this, not just dimension, rifting from one dimension to another, or something that because I'm a firm believer in dimensional shifting, and something it could have been from a time that was along, or a dimension that's alongside ours, and it just phased into
Yeah.
our reality because
Yep.
vibrational shifting. That is, in a sense, theoretical science. But there's also this thing in biology called gigantism. So
Yes.
gigantism happens to different species. So this may be a case. So basically, gigantism is the opposite of dwarfism, and basically it means that, hey, this member of the species is just really fucking big because of
Yeah.
genetic mutation.
Happens to us
Uh,
humans.
Yeah. So, but the issue here is that there's like I said, stories and cultures all around the world, folklore, mythology, urban legends of these things. Are these things real? Are these things demons? Are these things in the natural, just the natural world, trying to take back control from all the damage that we have done to it? These could be hellhounds. They could be black dogs. They could be a number of different things. The truth is that I don't think we're going to know anytime soon.
Mm-mm.
But as with all cryptids and as with all creatures like this, it is fun as hell to speculate.
It is. It totally is. Mm-hmm.
That is what I have for this episode. I would love to know what any of our listeners think. And if you have a different theory, I would absolutely love to read that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think these types of creatures are always going to be a mystery
Mm-hmm.
because they're through tons of different cultures. They've been around for a very long time. I think there's something that should be respected, not necessarily um, chased, but I think they were very much right on respecting these creatures because I mean they've been around for a hot minute. So, and I don't think we'll ever know what they are. Honestly, I think that's one of the universe wonders. Is we're never. I think it's we're never supposed to know.
Yeah, while I have an inquisitive mind and I love learning new things, this I think this is a lesson to us. And I think just cryptids in general and a lot of like unexplained things are lessons to us that hey,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to not know everything. It's okay
Yes.
to not understand everything, and it's okay to be
Yeah.
wrong about stuff.
Yeah.
Your thing is, if you're wrong about something, I've said this before, educate yourself, get education
Yeah.
from other people. Don't completely write something off because you don't understand it.
Yeah.
We're all here to grow. We're all here to experience life and get the best things out of it.
Yes.
So, on that note, I think it is time for us to do our drawing.
What did you pull?
I pulled the Nine of Cups.
One of us pulls a cup. We haven't pulled. One of us has not pulled a cup in a good minute. So I pulled the Ten of Pentacles. So this is going to be fun.
I hope so.
Okay. I will go first because you can rest your voice for a minute.
Okay.
Keywords: legacy, inheritance, and accumulation. The Ten of Pentacles is an accumulation of the journey along the path of the earthly, and to travel this road means to be aware of not just the true value of all things material, but also what is required for you to earn them. This card represents attainment, whether in wealth, status, or health. At the end of this road, you must consider why you have taken this path, the sacrifices that you've made to be here, and there is a sense that it was done for the sake of loved ones, to build a future that is nourishing for your family. There is an aspect of family here, duty, and for the tree is not just a strong, steady manifestation of Earth's power, growing from years of labor, but its branches are also a symbol for a family. You are perhaps not just doing this for your own benefit, but to start a legacy. The earthly is mortal, and here at the Ten of Pentacles, you are the most aware of that. But a legacy, a name, and inheritance continues to provide after you personally pass. This card's lesson: I act to heal the trauma of my forebears and set a better precedent for the future. Which,
Interesting.
with everything I've had going on, family wise, yeah.
Well, that's interesting given mine and how they could interlace. So,
Yeah.
um, word association for the upright Nine of Cups is contentment, satisfaction, gratitude, and a wish come true. You know those moments when you glance around you and feel your heart overflowing with love and appreciation for everything you have created in your life. That's what the Nine of Cups is about: emotional fulfillment, happiness, and contentment. When this card appears in a tarot reading, you are content with all aspects of your life: relationship, relationship, work, lifestyle, well being, and more. You are basking in the abundance of life and experiencing your emotions with such intensity and pleasure. This is why the Nine of Cups is often called the wish card. It comes as a sign that the planets align for you and have everything that and you can have everything you've wished for. You could not be happier. If you made your wish and and are patiently waiting for it to come to fruition, then this card is an excellent omen that it will be granted. So the way I'm seeing these together is, yeah, man, stuff's been hard. It's been messed up and it's been a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But the struggle's paid off and it's time to cash in on that because things are, might not be exactly what you had planned for them to be, but things are getting better, things are better, and everything is going to be okay.
Yep.
And what you've worked hard for and what you've been pushing for is going to be or is coming to be the reality. And that's the way I see it. I don't know what your thoughts on it are.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, it's hard to be that person that has decided that a lot of generational things are stopping with you. Um, it's very hard to be that person because you constantly second guess yourself whether am I making the right decision? Um, is this the right boundary to hold at this time? Kind of thing. Um, it's a lot of second guessing of, at least for me, of is am I doing the right thing at the right time? Um, just yeah. So it yeah. Holding that
Yeah,
after the past couple of weeks with all of my drama,
yeah,
you know, um, and it sometimes feels like you're constantly struggling and you're like, is this ever going to pay off? Because as adults, there are a lot of things that you want to do that you have to realize that you can't do, and there's things that you need to do in order to get the want. And I think that's part of my battle is I want to
100%.
be right here, and I'm getting there. I've made a lot of strides there, but I think it's I think everybody that's making the decision to stop a lot of generational things, you constantly second guess yourself, and then you kind of obtain a goal, and it makes it worth it
Yeah,
in
100%.
a weird way. So it
100%.
still hurts, but it
Well,
still
that's
sucks. But
pain
you
is
know,
how we know we're alive.
yeah. Well,
Unfortunately, it sucks that that's the way we know we're alive, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. But we'll end on that note of generational trauma sucks, but you're making strides to care to heal the generational trauma.
yeah.
the goals that you've had, the choices that you have made to stop a lot of things with you, it's paying off. You are making the right decision.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I see it. So,
Yeah.
on that note,
Don't forget to make a decision about rate, reviewing, and subscribing to us.
yeah,
And share us around.
yeah, tell a friend. Join me on Fable. Join me on Facebook and Instagram. Fable is kind of, I'm liking Fable a lot more than Facebook at this point. Because it's like the Facebook of books.
So one of our listeners actually, because you had mentioned Fable and you talked about Fable in one of our previous episodes, and one of our listeners had listened to that episode and reached out to me. Um, are you using I think they said the free or the paid
I'm
version?
using the free.
Okay.
I don't have the premium because so part of the app itself with the book clubs is you can buy the book through the app, and then as you read it and like highlight it, if you're like an annotator, this might be a little bit more up your alley, is you can also see everybody else's comments
Yeah.
in the book. I personally, you and I do a lot of audiobooks, so I'm like, I don't have a need for this.
Yeah, but for
Um,
someone who does like digital reading and stuff.
yeah. And
Okay.
my biggest thing is I'm trying to branch out a little bit in my comfort zones when it comes to reading. Um, but also if I have a question or if something isn't kind of sitting right, I can kind of make a comment in a chapter in the book group, in the book club, and other people in the group can see it and stuff, and it's really helping broaden my horizons with what I'm comfortable reading, which is one of the reasons why I joined it, was so I could kind of get a little bit uncomfortable um and kind of
So the next thing we
branch.
know, you'll be reading smut.
No. But getting to the point
For
where
for new listeners, that is a running joke because Kelsey is staunchly against smut.
I don't like.
Like not as a concept, just not a topic that interests
Yeah.
her at all.
I'm good. Like, but getting a little bit more comfortable with romance being in books, because fantasy romance is a big thing this year. But I read a lot, like we talked about in our most recent review episode. I read a lot of mystery, cozy mysteries, a lot of thrillers, and it's really branched my horizons of books that I would never in a million years think of to pick up. Or
Yeah.
even with fantasy, like I've read my first Neil Gaiman book this year. I would have never read that one, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I would have never thought to have read that, but it was a book club, and here we go, kind
Neil
of thing.
Gaiman is definitely like one of my top 10 authors.
So, and I find it like a cozy sci-fi, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. That was hilarious. That was a book club book.
Mhm.
Kind of branched out to read the series, found out I'm not liking the series, but that book was funny. So yeah, I don't pay for Fable Premium. I just have basic Fable. But if you're kind of a Kindle person, because you can also read it on your own. When the book club picks books, you can read it with the club or you can read it on your own. But you do have the option to buy the book through the app, and then you can see everybody's like notes and stuff. But if you do read it on your own or like a physical copy, like I do a lot of, or audio copy, like I do a lot of times, you can comment in each chapter. So if something
Okay.
kind of hits a little weird or something's not making sense, or if you're not catching the reference to something, and then like your reviews, you comment on everybody's different reviews. I like the review process a little bit more because you can kind of pick trigger warnings, You can kind of pick what you didn't like about it. So if it's an unsatisfactory plot, characters, like what did you dislike about it, but what kind of setting was it? What was kind of the theme? There's a little bit more in-depth review process than Goodreads, where Goodreads just tells you you've got this much to talk.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it. And then you can kind of help people figure out their next read. Like the moderator will pick like 4 different books. Some of the moderators of the groups are on Instagram. So they've moved they're a book talk book Instagrammer. They've got their book club on. So that's kind of I started out with Warnock's book club and he does a lot of sci-fi because
There
of
is
his
one guy, I don't remember his name. There is one guy that I think is the only person that I've seen that's done like any sort of review stuff like that that actually probably uh join a book club that he ran
Yeah.
or would take recommendations from him, mainly because most of the books that he has reviewed that I have read, he and I
Mhm.
have very similar opinions of.
Yeah.
And he also does like reviews of games and stuff. He's actually the one that I found out from that they were doing a Discworld
Okay.
TTRPG.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
does have one.
Okay. He's like the only one that I would probably
Mhm.
join for.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I know who you're talking about. That his book
the
club.
gay guy that like
Yeah. East Cat, Ezeeekat.
yeah, that guy.
Yeah. He does have a book club. I am a part of it. The book club for this month is Dragon Fruit by Micaiah Lucer. Um yeah, the book club is over 11,000 members.
I mean, he's fairly
So,
popular. I feel like,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, you can kind of see. Let me see if I
I
can get
can't see anything. We just had this discussion earlier. I can't
Oh,
see
oh,
shit
here we
from
go.
your
Here
phone.
we go. Here we go.
You have to hold it at
Now,
just the right angle, and then I
there
can't
you
even
go.
read it.
So you can kind
Ah,
of
don't
see
worry about it.
there's
It's
different
like, don't worry.
chapters.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
yeah. So like, rate, review, and subscribe, guys, and
please
we
tell a friend.
will. Yeah, we will talk at you later.
Bye.